All right, good evening, everyone. We will now call the regular scheduled meeting to order, and we'll start with our invocation. Chief, can you get us taken care of?
All right, will you bow your head with me, please? Almighty God, we just thank you for this opportunity to serve. We thank you to those who are here. Lord, we pray for protection over our community tonight as the storm comes in. Lord, we are thankful for the fact that no one was injured or seriously hurt in the last week of storms. Lord, guide us, give us wisdom as we talk about business tonight. We just pray this in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll do the roll call. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Thron,
Here.
Mrs. Feback. Here. Mr. Grant,
Here.
Mr. Delgado,
Here.
Mr. Savage.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next up is the approval of the agenda. I don't think we had any request of changes. Oh, we do? Am I missing it?
Number 10.
Oh, I didn't see that. We're removing number 10 from the agenda. I guess I should turn the page next time. All right. With that, is that the only change to this agenda? I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve tonight's agenda with the removal of item number 10.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0-0. Next up, we have announcements and reports. I'm going to start with a couple announcements. Well, number one, just thank you to everybody who chipped in last week for the cleanup and for the different charity events we had. I know Dan's Trailer had a really nice one for Hillsdale. I know there was a couple other ones out by Hillsdale. We had community members jumping in, helping out through the rec. The rec was a great source of kind of centrality for that, to get the volunteers involved and the people who needed help. So thank you, everyone, including our public works and even our regular staff. Everybody kind of jumped out of their normal positions to help out. Thank you for that. Number two, we are going to be setting up a Parks and Trail Committee. I've kind of got everything lined out with Spencer. The way it'll work is we'll have one governing body member, which right now I'm volunteering. We're going to have one staff member that needs to be appointed, and then 3 to 5 public residents, or residents that will be involved. I'm starting to work through that process, so anybody who's interested, please reach out. I've already have 3 or 4 people that are interested. We're going to try and have that going here in the next meeting or so, and then once we get that set up, that group will report to the Parks Board, run their ideas through there, get them approved. If it goes through Parks and gets approved, we'll either go through consent or a formal agenda, depending on if there's funding needed or whatnot. But that's going to focus on trails, different types of parks that we kind of fell off the wayside. We're going to try to set up our own kind of CIP specifically for those items, just because right now we don't really have a great outlook on how to approach those things. Does anybody have any questions or comments when it comes to that? Everybody's okay with that? Okay. So we'll see that coming up on the next agenda. Again, anybody in the public who is interested in being involved, please reach out. I'm looking for volunteers. Next thing, Mike, I am requesting tonight, if you can, go over the updates and where we're at with the zoning and codes that we're going through. One thing I did want to add, and I talked to him, but I'll let you guys know before he goes into it, is storm shelters for slab homes. That's something that's kind of important to me. So he looked into some of that today. He's going to give us an update on it. Lane also, I think, is going to have an update for us on QT and the new pumps and parking options they have back there. We do have a couple annexations. I know I had some calls about this. I kind of just wanted to address annexations are what they are. They're just people requesting to come into the city. Sometimes you'll see verbiage in there about what they're going to be requesting, what they're looking for. Those are really usually there to give them kind of an out in case we don't agree with them when they go for those things. That isn't happening tonight. Tonight is the annexation. So if you have questions or comments on that, please do that during the citizen participation. It's not a public meeting, or a hearing, so it won't be during the actual annexation portion. So please do that through the citizen participation so that we can hear all your comments and questions, okay? Outside of that, I don't think I have anything else. PJ?
No reports for me today.
Ivan?
Just want to kind of repeat what he said and thank everybody here at city staff, everybody at Public Works and the PD for stepping it up this past week. Truly appreciate that, and I appreciate the community, everybody stepping up, helping up clean all the debris within the town. So, big thanks to everybody.
Thanks. James?
No report.
Kristen?
Yeah, I have an announcement. First of all, I just want to echo what the mayor and what Ivan just said about the community support and everything. The other announcement I just wanted to make is I was pretty forthcoming about moving in May. I was going to run for mayor, and I went ahead and was vocal about me moving. And so May is upon us, and so I'm going to be moving to Parkville the last week of May. So anyway, I just wanted to verbalize it. I don't know if I'm going to get an opportunity my last meeting here. But I took a position up there to run a mental health center in the Northland, and it's awesome. We're doing some awesome things, serving people up there. So it was a difficult decision, but it's getting to be May. So I just want to be forthcoming with that, and I wanted an opportunity to say it. So anyway, I just appreciate the opportunity.
All right, thanks, Kristen.
Go ahead.
Mike?
I just want to echo everybody's kind of sentiments about cleanup on the city. It was tremendous to see residents and staff and just how everybody kind of came together. It was really cool to see. Other than that, nothing else.
All right, thank you. Spencer, anything for us?
Nothing for you. If you'd like a discussion of the annexation process, this would be a good time. Do you think that would be beneficial of just, why we see certain things in those agreements? If
Sure.
everyone, like my family, is tired of hearing me
Yes.
talk, we can skip that. Okay.
Let's hear it.
Sure. So the annexation process mostly works through consent annexations where people petition the city. They're actively seeking to come in. Oftentimes, the property owner has some general ideas of what they want to do with the property. I would say every once in a while they come to Lane or Mike and say, we know it's going to be a residential development, and the city can kind of start pre-planning. Typically, it's more of a general, this land where it sits in your comp plan, we want it to be a certain zoning, but we don't have an end user or even an industry in mind. That is what we have tonight. So you are going to see more and more, because it's become more and more of a trend in annexation agreements, that there are outs and off-ramps for landowners. They will come in, but if the city, in its discretion and its sole discretion, declines to rezone property or declines to enter into any other type of agreements with the property can de-annex. That is a strong property rights issue. The city wants to respect people's property rights on that. And it is an agreement by all parties, and especially an imposition by the city if there is no obligation to rezone property or to approve any specific uses, to come to development agreements. That is a function of the Planning Commission holding public hearings and you all making those final decisions. And the city cannot legally waive those obligations under state law. So at any time a property is annexing in, they come in and they retain their current county zoning, and they cannot change that until they come through the city and formally request that. And there's a public hearing, and then it comes to you all. So I understand, as a lawyer, I'm the first to tell you some of these legal agreements have a whole lot of words in them. I apologize on behalf of my whole profession for creating agreements that have some complex language in there. So part of my function is to help explain that to you all. I'm happy to do that, but that is why we see agreements where they mention M1 or RP4. That doesn't mean any decisions have been made. It doesn't mean the land is being rezoned at the time of annexation. It's just sort of candidly a property owner trying to be usually more open about, hey, this is what we think we're going to do with it. We want you to know up front. And on a personal level, I usually like to see a property owner be open about that rather than trying to hide the ball until it's too late. So,
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Lane?
Just a quick update on Quick Trip. They have started the final phase. I think we have a picture up here on the screen for you. The back phase is diesel pumps. There's approximately, I believe, around 10 of the full-size parking spots for the individuals that come in there and get some fuel, maybe want to go inside and get some food. And then I think 3 or 4 more little spots there. And I believe that should be, I think there's 5 bays for the pumps, and that project should be completed this year. But they're actively undergoing the process right now of removing the dirt and getting it prepared to build on.
All right, cool. Thank you, Lane. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, Ms. Rhonda.
Thought you were going to the back row. I wasn't ready. I have a couple of items. First, on the agenda tonight is the event permit for First Fridays. And we won't have another meeting before the first Friday in May. And so I just want to remind everybody, that event is on May 1st. It starts at 5:30 in downtown Spring Hill. And the team's really been gearing up for those, so I hope everyone comes out. It's a great community event. The second thing, you have received on your desk tonight, the March financial snapshot. And so that data is available to you. For the public, that will be on our website. It's probably already on our website right now, but the city always publishes it on the website. The third thing that I have that is on your, second thing on your desk is the schedule for the budget coming up. And it shows that we're gonna gear up next meeting with our first work session, and there will likely be budget work on every agenda from now till the end of September. At the next meeting, we'll have a work session. At each of the upcoming meetings, we'll have a work session. That first one will be about setting goals. Is this the calendar you want? Are you getting enough work sessions? And you guys will determine how you really want the process to work. But this is how we've done it in the past. I'm not a done it in the past kind of a gal, but this is how our schedule typically works, but we want to make sure it works for all of you. We have several new members who didn't go through that process last year. So put some thought into, is this what you want to see? Is there something else that you need? And when we'll be talking about different subjects. But the work is well underway. The departments are working on their budgets and identifying projects and things like that. So the budget is started and we'll be working on it every meeting.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Glenda. Monikisha?
I just want to say that for the Aquatic Center, we have made all offers, and I mentioned this previously, but I'm bringing it up now because if you have a child that has applied for the Aquatic Center, it would be great to just touch base with them and make sure they know where they're at in the process, because I have some that are a little bit delayed in doing a couple of things. So that would be great. If we can get everyone ready to go, we'll have 80 people out at the Aquatic Center for the summer. So.
Wow, okay, great.
I have a question for you on that. So some of the people are in school still. Maybe they're coming back from college. So are they allowed to get their TB test? Do they have to come all the way back here, or do you allow TB tests from someplace else?
We actually don't require them to go and do that. So
Don't they have to have some test though? Is it drug test or what is?
Yeah, I did that for the assistant supervisors, and that they're all taken care of. I'm
okay.
talking about all the non-assistant
Okay.
supervisor positions, and so those are the ones that are just at various stages.
Got you.
Yeah.
I'll check with Emery.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Jacob.
So sticking with the theme of the tree and debris cleanup removal, I want to thank the Public Works staff. They worked hard. I also want to thank the Spring Hill Rec Commission. I really appreciate the collaboration with them. Both, they had folks out picking up debris as well, and they kind of managed that volunteer situation. Both provided a place for folks that needed assistance to go and seek that out. And then they also managed the, that outpouring of volunteers and folks that wanted to help. And so they did a good job of matching up the need with the offer to help. So it was a bad situation, but it was really great to see, our community partners come together and everybody work together. That said, we are using a engineering or project management term. We are substantially complete. There are, I know of about 3 or 4 locations with just kind of an armload of limbs, some small things that we'll catch in the morning, but we're generally complete with everything.
Great.
Do you know how many volunteers we had?
I have not seen a total count, no.
I know the last time I heard, Brian said they had more volunteers than people needing help, so we had a huge outpouring of people that were volunteering, so. All right, thanks, Jacob. And thanks for all you did. I know you were working hard. I know the night of the storm was a late one for you and your group and the PD, so thanks for everybody there. Mike, what you got?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few announcements, actually. So wanted to let everybody know that we have made an offer and it's been accepted for a building official to start with the city. Their anticipated start date is May 4th. So we're happy to have him come join us. That leads me into my second announcement or update is that we, as far as the adoption of the building codes and electrical codes, mechanical codes, all of those I codes, we do have a draft from GBA, who's our third-party consultant right now. We are waiting until we get that building official on board who has experience with doing code adoptions and code updates, and that will be the top priority once he is able to join us. And so we're excited to be able to bring that forward. The updates on the planned development or planned district zoning and the industrial zoning, currently we're still finalizing those drafts. We anticipate a June 4th Planning Commission meeting with the council meeting on June 25th.
And did you have any information on what we could do towards the storm shelters?
Yes, I do. Based upon, I'll need to confer with Spencer and GBA and also our building official to determine exactly where in our set of codes that should be housed, if it's so chosen by the governing body for us to proceed down that path, whether that's in the building code section or a local amendment to an adopted building code, or if that's in a zoning section somewhere. But Amy, can you bring up those pictures? So just doing a little bit of research, especially with all of the severe weather we've had recently. We've looked at some options in terms of, can you scroll down a bit? Looking at how residential storm shelters can be incorporated into a single family house, in particular for a house that is not constructed with a basement. There are multiple examples, one of which is here, that is embedded kind of into the garage floor with a sliding door. Different levels of protection for different price points. The more expensive ones are the ones that are FEMA rated and that can withstand up to an EF5 tornado. And so we have these types of situations here that can be built into the garage slab. There are some that can be disguised on an internal room of the house with a door and essentially doubles as a kitchen pantry. And then there are standalone boxes, if you will, that can be incorporated into the garage to provide multiple. So there's different options. And so exploring just quickly what other cities in the area do. Not a lot of cities have adopted a code that requires such a storm shelter or a requirement for a basement. We're able to find that Lenexa recently did adopt their code. I believe it was in 2023 or 24. They had a previous requirement that required a separate storm shelter for every X number of residents within a development, kind of as an external community shelter, but they removed that requirement and put in a requirement for a residential storm shelter in every type of housing unit. So based upon the direction from the governing body, we can continue to do more research and bring forward an amendment to require that going forward.
I know it's probably not the most popular thing to do with the builders, but I think with how many on-slab homes that we've added here as of late, and that trend seems to be continuing throughout the metro, I would prefer to have something in place. I don't know what anybody's opinion is here with that, but I know it probably will add additional cost, but at some point, I think it's probably worth it, especially with how many people were reaching out with this storm saying, where can we go?
I will continue to say the same thing I say every time we talk about these things. Bring me the information and a plan to implement it that's not gonna be, overly obstructive to both our ability to provide lower income homes, for the communities and, also be safe. And I'm willing to look at any of that, but until we have
Oh, yeah.
solid information, yeah.
Yeah.
I withhold all judgment.
Well, yeah, I think putting something together and seeing what we can do and how it approaches, then we can look at it. But I think this is the perfect time to look at it as we're updating the building codes anyway. I don't see why we wouldn't have this part of that.
Agreed.
So. Cool, thanks, Mike, for getting all that info. I know we talked about it just today, so thanks for the quick turnaround.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Anything else for you?
Just wanted to let everybody know that we did issue the request for proposals, seeking a consultant to come in to finalize the comprehensive plan. Those responses are due back to city staff Monday, May 18th. And from there, we will conduct interviews and select a consultant to get this wrapped up, hopefully by the end of the year.
All right. Mr. Chief, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so just as a matter of information, not to go back to the storm again, but I want the governing body to know and for the community to know that the police department was well staffed during both events. We had double the amount of normal staff that we would have in case there was severe damage or, worse. So I felt like we were well prepared to respond to any kind of emergency that there may have been. So we'll continue to prepare and be ready for future storms because it looks like it's going to be a rainy season.
All right, thank you again for all you do. All right, that's all. That's it for announcements, reports, unless anybody else has something. We will now move on to a presentation from Mr. Larry Sumner and the Cemetery Board President.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just give my yearly report, let you know what we did last year and kind of what we're planning on for this year. Last year, just to start out, it was just about like the year before. We had 30 burials here in town. We sold 33 lots last year. We had that new pavement that we white striped. Very happy with that, and a lot of the people that come up and ride bicycles and hike up there enjoy it. We haven't had any vandalism for a while. Thank you for the patrols coming through and locking the gates at night. That's nice. We do have dogs running loose every once in a while that sneak in, trying to get a handle on that. I know where they're coming from. So, our parade of flags last year, we did that during Memorial Weekend and during Veterans Day. And we're getting ready for that again here at the end of May. Our plans for this year is a brochure. I don't know if you all got any of that in your packet or seen them. It's kind of something we wanted to put together, and thank Jenna for helping. Did a lot better than what I could have done on that. But we have a lot of history up there, and this is just a way I've got it out here on the folder on the wall for you to pick up for new people by, and I want to get down with the chamber and give them a stack of them they can hand out. So we're going to install a kind of a shoulder to that pavement. It's up kind of high. We've been debating on how to do that. So here in a couple of weeks when we have our meeting, we're going to go forward with that. Probably do a lot of it ourselves. Save some money that way. We had removal of damaged and dead trees. We're going to be doing that more. We got some bids in on tree removal, and there's some rotted trees and dead trees. We lost a big limb that the city boys came and got it removed. And as I drove through tonight, I saw another limb that it came down. So we got a lot of old dead trees, and we're going to have a guy come in, and we're going to get rid of a lot of those trees and clean it up. We're just not going to accept having a tree limb fall on a stone, especially an old one. You can't replace them. It'd be a shame. We had a little bit of roof damage to our shed up there. Had a tree limb go through it. But we got it fixed the next day. One of the other members and I went up and reshingled a patch of it and got it fixed. Memorial Day's coming up. You're all welcome to come up and be part of that. It's on May 25th. And actually, that's all I have unless you've got some questions for me.
I don't have any questions, but thank you for all you do. I know there's a lot of labor that your board puts out there to help out there, so we really appreciate it.
You know, it's a labor of love, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of family up there.
yeah.
So,
What time is that? On May 25th?
yes.
What time is it?
I don't know. That's put on by the American Legion here in town.
Yeah.
We just supply the cemetery. So, I don't know, usually it's like at 10 o'clock or something like that. So, but
All right.
you're welcome, everybody.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, thank you. All right, the next item up is citizen participation. And we've got a list here, folks, so we'll start with Mr. John Waterman. Come on up and just state your name and address for us. And
Thank you very much. John Waterman, 21110 West 186 Terrace, Dayton Creek. First, thank you, governing body, mayor, for all you do and all the decisions you guys have to make. Appreciate it. And appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak this evening. Have three topics actually. One, comp plan, two, annexation, and three, fireworks. Regarding comp plan, I've made some comments on comp plan before. I have a couple additional comments I just want to briefly make. Kind of going to our neighbors to the north in Olathe and looking at what their kind of current future ready plan kind of is and illustrates, kind of paints a picture. They kind of start off with a vision statement, and it is that Olathe takes a future ready approach. We are resilient, innovative, nimble, and collaborative in how we address tomorrow's challenges today. It's pretty impactful. I mean, definite things there to kind of incorporate into what we consider a comprehensive plan going forward that is agile and is able to capture growing times. In 2040, they state, residents and businesses are thriving, engaged in the community, and continue to adapt and plan into the future. Regionalism has made our metropolitan area a model for the nation. It's pretty impactful. Their goals, improve the community's ability to be resilient and thrive, preserve high level of public trust in the city of Olathe government. Something, we've adamantly talked about the last 6 months is having trust, transparency in local government. So, very important. Third thing on the comprehensive plan that I have is I want to kind of draw attention to our current comprehensive plan for 2006, 2010, depending on what you're looking at revision-wise. And specifically section 5.2.1 and 5.2.2, the community and the neighborhood. There's 7 points under 5.2.1, the community, and 6 points under 5.2.2, the neighborhood. And all of them are extremely relevant, I believe, still today to our city and things we can grow upon and move forward with our new comprehensive draft from. Specifically, if we look at the community, number 6, the town core of Spring Hill, including downtown and the Webster Street corridor, must be targeted for revitalization and future growth of high-intensity development, destination retail and entertainment, and high-density housing to maintain the area as the center focus of the community. I believe this. I also believe that many citizens have kind of stated that they want Spring Hill to remain a quaint city. We all know Spring Hill is going to grow. It's going to grow how we want it to grow, to where we can cluster it and kind of model that downtown image in our areas as they grow, clustered neighborhoods, etc. So those are my important points on the comp plan.
Switching to annexation, I appreciate Mr. Lowe's kind of guide as far as annexation and kind of that process. Knowing that these annexation requests coming before us this evening are, don't have kind of an identity, only that they want to be annexed into the city. No kind of idea of what zoning is wanted. I would ask, without this area specifically kind of drafted currently into our future land use map or comprehensive plan, as it exists today, that we, with intentionality, look and make sure. And what I like to see the governing body have as part of the discussion on this, and then leading to the voting, is what are your all's thoughts on what those areas could be used for by the city in the future? There isn't a clear path, so now's a good time to have that conversation. That demonstrates to the community, the citizens, that there's a level of transparency in the process. You're all talking about it before voting, so that there's a discussion, healthy discussion on, hey, what could this be in the future? So that's kind of my comments related to annexation. Kind of moving on to fireworks. I know in the last meeting there was a discussion on, having year-round fireworks sales. To fall in line with the Kansas law from last year that allows year-round fireworks. I understand, that desire, possibly if it brought a significant return to the city financially. I guess my concern is if we look to our north, across the metropolitan area, fireworks are illegal. Sale, use, everything. I love fireworks. I like being able to set them off here in Spring Hill. But I know that time is limited, right? I mean, not long, Spring Hill is just going to be the metro. We're going to grow it right, but it's going to be part of the metro, and fireworks aren't going to be allowed. So I would rather invest that time. I mean, if somebody can tell me that there's a significant, return on that investment to have a brick and mortar fireworks store here, year round, I would soon pass on that, because at some point that building's going to have to change hands, because we're not going to be able to sell fireworks here anymore. So anyway, with that, I will conclude. Again, appreciate the time this evening, and happy to stay involved. So thanks.
All right, thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Alexandra Hatfield.
Good evening. Alexandra Hatfield, 21720 South Ray Street. So first, thank you for serving the community. I know we can't always please everyone, and I know you have to make difficult decisions, but I want to thank you for your time, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I got 4 things I want to discuss. First is the parking lots. I want to thank you for redoing the community center parking lot. It is one that my family uses frequently. My daughter loves to take the park and rec cooking classes that are held there. And the last time we went to one, I was like avoiding potholes. So thank you for doing that. The second is, I know data centers keep getting brought up. And I know the annexations that are going on, that's looming and a fear in a lot of the citizens' minds. And I know several meetings ago, someone had suggested removing the amendment to M1 that had the data center that was placed back in October, I believe. And I fully support that. What do we need to do to get that to happen? Does that need to start at the Planning Commission, come here? I think that would be an amazing first step in rebuilding that trust and transparency. Third, storm cleanup. Thank you, Mayor Chad and Mayor Young. And Ivan for returning my emails. Don't worry, PJ, Mike, James, and Kristen, I didn't email you. Your time's coming though. But I do want to thank Ivan and Mayor Young for returning those emails. I also did reach out to City Administrator Lane Macy, and I didn't hear anything back. But I do want to say thank you for correcting the initial post and making it right. I know a lot of us, at least on the south side of town, kind of felt like we got slapped across the face. So I do appreciate it because we couldn't go one block in the village without seeing a tree down. Just a few houses down, we had a tree fall on the neighbors' cars. So we felt a heavy impact. I just questions, and I know that it's storm cleanup is going to be discussed in the agenda later. So questions that I had, where was the funding coming from for the cleanup? I know that Governor Kelly included Spring Hill in the emergency order, but why didn't we use that? And please know that my questions are coming from a place of no knowledge. I don't know the rules or any of the legalities that come with that. So my question is just curiosity. I know that I did reach out to Governor Kelly's office and heard back on Friday 4/17, and they said that the city had not reached out. And I was just wondering why. So those are my questions about that. But again, thank you, and thank you Parks and Rec. Thank you the city. I know the city stepped up big time in helping to clean up, and we greatly appreciate that. Last is road resurfacing. I know that that was brought up last meeting and approvals were made for certain subdivisions. I also know that I heard a couple of you say that chip and seal was a massive failure. As one of the subdivisions that got that chip and seal, it is a failure. My children can't rollerblade. My children have skinned knees from learning you can't go through the cul-de-sac and hit the brakes and bust on that chip and seal. I know a neighbor where a piece of the chip and seal fell into their yard, mowed, and it hit the window. So what's the plan to fix what was clearly a failure? Especially in the village of Spring Hill, village of Victory, where that chip and seal is, and it's just an epic failure. So please consider us and maybe the next one to fix that, because it's my children love to rollerblade and we're stuck in the driveway. And with that, I know the construction crews behind the bank, because they're building on 217th, they're building those duplexes. The construction crews wiped out the stop sign and the street signs, and I did put in a request to replace it, and the stop sign has been replaced. The street sign has not. Okay. And they already have such struggles getting Race Street mail right as it is, not the post office, but FedEx, you name it, they can't get it. I get neighbors packages. So having Race Street labeled and 207th Street labeled, if we could get that, I'd appreciate it. Again, thank you for your time and listening.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
I would assume, Jacob, do we have that on the docket to get the road signs updated?
I will look into that. I don't know. I don't know I'm not sure if that's one that we're handling or if we're going through the contractor who damaged it, but okay. I will look into it. The stop sign is just a, immediate safety issue, regardless of fault. We get those replaced right away. The street name blades I will look into.
Okay, thanks. And I'll try to address the rest of those when we talk about the storm later. Thanks. Next up is Michael Klutz.
Excuse me. Good evening. How you guys doing? Good. Mike Klutz, 18512 West 194th Street. First off, I just want to thank you all. The storm and really response. I know initially it wasn't a great response, but I think you made it right. After citizens made it known they weren't real happy with the initial response, but I know Ivan, you jumped in it and you did what you could, and we appreciate that. I do have some notes. I just want to make sure I say this clearly. Just a few brief comments. I do need to step out early. I got some family obligations. I'm on kid duty tonight, so I'm going to try and follow afterwards. First, just kind of want to go over the pedestrian safety. I do appreciate the discussion, the last meeting about the lighting, the crosswalks at Forest Spring. And I just want to make sure we're proactive with the infrastructure planned along Ridgeview, like between 195th and 199th across from the high school. It's still early for that development, but just like us to be proactive with that, not run into the same problems instead of reactive because it's right across from the school. Second, just kind of going back into the community concern uncertainty. I've gotten to know a lot of people, hearing more and more from neighbors, and kind of the common theme is uncertainty with just where we are with the planning, and just through some public records and just some ongoing discussions. It seems, pretty clear that we've had some significant development concepts considered specifically along the 191st to 199th corridor. The concern is not really just the projects themselves. I think it's just the level of detail that we've kind of seen that doesn't seem to match what has been communicated publicly. And I think that gap's just creating confusion and concern. So I just hope that, really just respectfully asking that, we can outline the city on the record what the vision and planning status is for that corridor. Not really speculation, but what's kind of being considered, what stage it's in, and what residents should reasonably expect going forward. Doesn't etch it in stone, but I think it could help. I know we're talking about annexation. I know there's 316 acres right there, and that's kind of been the crux of this whole thing for a while. I don't know what goes into that as a council is possibly de-annexing that. I think that would, if that's a possibility, I think that would ease a lot of concerns in that area. I don't live there specifically, but I've got to know a lot of good people over there. I just kind of want to talk about the process and independent review. I saw on the agenda tonight that the city is appropriately bringing in specialized outside counsel for pretty complex legal matters like eminent domain. That's appropriate. Given that approach, I just kind of want to see if we can clarify how it determines when independent or outside legal review is being used, especially like with major rezoning or industrial decisions. How does that apply to situations with large-scale developments, with infrastructure and environmental considerations? And then lastly, just back to the annexation and infrastructure responsibility. For kind of these large tracts that have been annexed, particularly those without a continuous, fully planned development area, how do we determine who bears the cost for the major infrastructure, like the water main, sewer extensions? And does the city evaluate whether those costs should be borne by developers rather than taxpayers in some of those situations? I just want to make sure, I think most people agree with me, we're not about stopping growth. We just want to make sure all the decisions are fully informed, financially responsible, and just clearly communicated so we can get that trust. So I know everyone cares deeply about where they live here. And I think clarity and transparency can go a long way with that. So I do thank your time and would like to wish you luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Next up is Jameson Cochran.
I'm Jamie Cochran. I own Dan's trailer in town. I live off 183rd and Lone Elm. I have land at 191st and Renner. I've been here for 46 years. I thank you, Mayor, Council, and staff for everything you do for this town. I wasn't really prepared to speak tonight, but I did have one thing that hit me personally today. And it makes me think of, we're talking about annexing different plots of large land in different areas. And going back to the data centers, even though don't know if that's what's going there or what is going there. I received a phone call today at work from a guy that I've done business with for 20 years. He lost his job. Him and the other 40 that worked with him due to data centers. it all has turned to AI. And that company that now I still do business with, I just get emails, and if I don't respond to that email, I don't get the job. Versus the relationship I had with those people I talk to, not every day, but once a week throughout the last 20-some years that I've been doing it. You know, people tell me it's part of the world now. You're going to have to live with it. You're going to have to deal with it. I get that to an extent. But how far are we going to go with it? People are losing their jobs over it. They're losing their jobs. They're not going to be able to pay their property taxes on their house. They're not going to be able to, yeah, they go find another job, but that's what they've been doing their whole lives. And I just don't think a data center anywhere in Spring Hill or around this area, for my opinion, and I spoke with the mayor about it, I'm against it all the way around. And I just wanted to give you guys another reason other than the water usage, the electricity usage, all the stuff that the data centers do. But it actually hit me today. 40 people that I knew that I've done business with now do not have a job. All because of that. So that's my 2 cents. And another thing, the storm shelter implementation. I didn't know that was a topic. They're fabulous. I don't know anything about the ones that you put in the ground or in the basement or whatever, but the steel ones that bolt to the floor or whatever, they're fabulous. They're very heavy built. I don't know if anybody around here, if any of you's ever been in one or seen one. If you want to, get with me and I'll show you. They're fabulous. They're thick, but they are very heavy. I wouldn't want a child around them if adult wasn't around because the doors are heavier than me. So
They look a lot better than the in-ground one. That one looks a little scary.
but they're, you know, I second guessed it. I'll be honest with you, my dad bought one. And I was like, why are you buying that? You got a basement. And then once he got it, it's a pretty neat deal.
Yeah.
It really is. So anyway, that's my 2 cents, and I thank you guys for everything.
All right, thank you, sir. Next up is Lance Caldwell.
My name is Lance Caldwell. My address is 15275 West 191st Street. I'm a resident of the Spring Hill Township, and I also serve as the elected township treasurer. It's the second time I've been able to address this body. Mayor, I think you weren't here last time, but good to see you all again tonight, and appreciate your time. Really, really do. I've been attending both City Council and Planning Commission meetings recently because I care deeply about the future of Spring Hill. The community, not just how it grows, but what it eventually becomes. Over the last few months, I've been reviewing the city's annexation activity and zoning direction. Specifically, I've noticed a pattern that began in late 2025 with areas like where I live around 191st and Renner, now continued into 2026, including this evening's meeting with areas around 175th and Lone Elm. You know, individually, these actions may make sense, but taken together, they begin to shape a broader story. A story of corridor forming, one that appears increasingly aligned with industrial expansion. And that raises an important question. Is this growth happening as part of a clearly communicated long-term vision? Or is it happening incrementally in a way that residents are only able to piece together after the fact? I want to be very clear, I am not here to oppose growth. Growth is necessary. Progress is good. And economic development truly matters. But growth without clarity and without balance can change the identity of Spring Hill in ways that are hard to reverse and will have a long-term impact. The Spring Hill community has long been valued as a place where people can live in a quieter, more rural residential setting. In fact, it's exactly why many of us have chosen to live here, including my family, which is 3 generations on our homestead down at 191st and Lackman. What concerns me is not a single annexation or a single zoning change, it's the emerging pattern that is happening. Expansion along key corridors by annexing right-of-ways and large tracts, increasing flexibility in industrial zoning with regard to lot size and structure height, the introduction of a new category like technology facilities for M1, and now discussion of even heavier industrial designations as M2, I heard at our last meeting. And when you connect these dots, it suggests not just isolated decisions, but a directional shift. And that shift deserves transparency which is a priority for this governing body. I've heard you say that, but it doesn't seem that it's really manifested itself over the last 7 months. So as residents, we should not have to infer the future of our community by stitching together meeting minutes or zoning updates. We should be able to clearly understand where is the industrial growth going to be concentrated. How much is industrial use is planned relative to residential development? What buffers will exist between industrial uses, both rural and residential neighborhoods? And how will the city preserve the quality of life that brought the people here in the first place who want to thrive and see their families flourish? Because once heavy industrial uses are established, they don't easily move. They shape traffic patterns, infrastructure demands, noise levels, and ultimately property values and livability. This isn't just about land use, it's about the identity of the Spring Hill community. Are we becoming primarily a residential community with thoughtful economic development, or are we becoming a broader industrial corridor? These two are very, very different futures. If the answer is somewhere in the middle, then it's critical that the community understands where those lines are drawn. So 3 things I would respectfully ask the council to do is first, and you've heard this many times tonight, is just greater transparency. Clearly communicate the long-term land use vision, especially as it relates to industrial expansion and where it will be located. And then second is an intentional balance. Ensure that the residential growth, open space, and quality of life are not secondary considerations, but equal priorities. And third, meaningful buffers. Protect existing and future neighborhoods from the impacts of industrial encroachment that will not discourage new families from calling Spring Hill community their home. This community has an opportunity right now. The decisions that have been made and are being made today are not just about parcels and ordinances, they're about shaping the kind of place this will be for decades to come. And progress and preservation do not have to be in conflict, but they do require intentional planning, clear communication, and thoughtful balance. I appreciate your time tonight, and I hope you continue to engage residents as all these decisions are made moving forward and the comprehensive plan is updated to reflect the wishes of the residents. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, thanks. That was the last person that had signed up to speak. Is there anybody else in the crowd that would like to come and speak before we close citizen participation? Come on up. Please just state your name and address for.
Hi, I'm Tara Combs. I'm at 15320 West 193rd Terrace. Thank you guys for having me speak here. Let me pull up my notes real quick. So thank you for listening and for truly hearing me. I really appreciate that. In the last Joint Planning Commission meeting, there was discussion about the input from residents regarding the comprehensive plan. And because I think you guys have heard this, we would like transparency. I am requesting that the feedback is made publicly available, and that any community feedback received is considered is verified as true residents of Spring Hill, including the population and appropriate population input from the unincorporated areas like myself. Using websites like Facebook can welcome input from bots and other purchased likes and comments that may not be reflective of the true opinions of the Spring Hill citizens. Additionally, I am respectfully also requesting more transparency from this council by holding future executive sessions. I think that would really help us know what's going on. And then being more forthcoming about the plans when you are considering rezoning, annexations, the community improvement projects and their intended purpose, and also other data center proposals that you guys get. I understand that the statements that were made at the beginning of this meeting, but there are also strong indications that these things are moving forward with data centers in mind. And that should be officially stated, and citizens should be fully aware as soon as you guys know what that intended purpose is. We want to know. Finally, I just want to state, if it's not already clear, that I am adamantly opposed to a data center being anywhere in Spring Hill. I believe that they're detrimental to our water quality, our utility bills, our environment, and the overall quality of life for the people who live here. We want development and growth that brings positive things to the city, like jobs, retail, restaurants, and businesses that don't negatively impact our environment or adversely impact the lives that we've built here. So thank you for listening to me.
All right, thank you. I think we had one more. Derek, come on up.
Everybody, Derek Buckridge, 20456 West 220th Terrace. I didn't plan on talking, but I can't show up and not talk, so it's kind of how it goes sometimes. For starters, appreciate everybody's involvement with storm relief. I really feel like the city kind of went above and beyond. No other city in the metro are you going to put volunteers in somebody's backyard and carry their stuff out to the driveway for them, so I think you all went above and beyond which was be required or a standard for a city, so I appreciate y'all for doing that. And to seeing Larry Sumner up here, that's a big reason why I'm so involved like I am. That guy has spent decades giving back to this community, and the energy that he brings is what builds us next generation. It's people like him that give us all a reason. So it was really cool to see him up here tonight. And when he talks about trees at the cemetery, I think we need to start treating trees in our city for emerald ash borer. I think that's a big reason we're seeing trees come down in these heavy storms. We don't have a parks department, truly. So taking those kind of precautions ahead of time will definitely help us with that. Codes were mentioned, and so this is obviously where this is my cup of tea. I obviously hold a Class A license, Master Electrical, and I'm fully involved in the code world. I teach electrical classes, I teach GC classes, I work with the county on bringing this stuff forward. I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. I think Johnson County has it figured out. We should just follow their amendments. If I want to pull a permit in Spring Hill, I don't technically have to have a license in Spring Hill. I just have to provide my Johnson County license to build or to do stuff in Spring Hill. So I don't think we need to reinvent that wheel. He had mentioned Lenexa 2023. I've been building apartment complexes and multifamily since 2009 in the Kansas City Metro, and we've been putting storm shelters in apartment complexes and residential neighborhoods for 20 plus years. Every one of these residential areas has a clubhouse with a pool outside of it. They can put a basement in it. That's what every other residential area does. Black Hawk should have a full basement for every one of those people. I don't think this is really an individual residential thing. This is a development standard, and it's a standard that's adopted across this whole entire metro. Leawood has it. Overland Park has it. Every one of these jurisdictions I've built in for the past 20 years has storm shelters for their people. Other than that, QT, I think we just need to get ahead of the ball. I already see semis parking up and down 199th, and it drives me nuts in the morning. So I think just addressing parking ahead of time as we kind of bring in more traffic. I think we want more traffic and a general use, but I think it's kind of getting ahead of game on making sure we're not having semis lining our highways in the morning, lining our streets as our kids are trying to get to school. And I think about the 199th intersection. I know we just redid it. But I see cars coming off 199th, coming on to Webster, jumping in that far right lane, jumping all the way across so they can go ahead and go east on 199th. Whatever we need to do to maybe carry on that lane, another couple hundred yards, I think would be beneficial for the growth in this traffic. Other than that, again, I appreciate you all. You're stewards of our city, you're stewards of your county and your constituents, so I really appreciate the time you all put into this. I'd be up here with you. It just conflicts with my interests. So cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Derek. Anybody else? All right, we will close citizen participation. Next item on the agenda is a proclamation, Spring Hill Arbor Day, and they're gonna make me read this whole thing. So bear with me here. It's a proclamation of Arbor Day, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are renewable resources giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of our business and areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, I, Chad Young, Mayor of the City of Spring Hill, Kansas, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2026 to be Arbor Day in the city of Spring Hill, Kansas. I have, and I'll sign it. All right. That's it. Anything else you need from me on that? All right, thank you. That was long-winded. Next up, we've got our consent agenda as amended. Is there any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve tonight's consent agenda as amended.
Second. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Yeah,
We took off item 10.
we took item 10 off.
You're welcome. I got you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0-0. Next, we'll move on to formal council action. The first item, number 13, is consider approval of annexation agreement and ordinance for 2026-07 for land located at 17635 Lone Elm Road and 17725 Lone Elm Road, Breeds Hill, Kansas, LLC.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is consideration of annexation, a voluntary annexation, and an annexation agreement from the property owners for the Breeds Hill annexation. Again, the addresses are 13635 Lone Elm Road, 137-725 Lone Elm Road. City has received a voluntary consent to annexation with an annexation agreement that's before you this evening. For the property owners, property is contiguous to the existing city boundary and is eligible for annexation pursuant to Kansas law. Amy, could you bring up a map real quick? So the property is bounded to the north by 175th Street, generally west of Highway 169, and is bordered to the west, the east by 169 to the west, Lone Elm Road, and the section line to the south. It is approximately 150 acres in total. It is contiguous to the city boundary, which is done through the right-of-way of Highway 169, which is in the corporate limits of the city of Spring Hill. Annexation has been submitted by the property owner, qualifying as voluntary annexation. The agreement has been reviewed by staff and is consistent with the city annexation policies and applicable regulations. We find that the annexation meets all of the city's annexation policies and complies with Kansas statutes for voluntary annexation. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I have no questions regarding the annexation as a whole. I do have some comments. In the effort of transparency as far as we continue on with these annexations. People need to start thinking about not only what Spring Hill's doing, but also what Olathe is doing, what Overland Park is doing, and what Gardner is doing. As we continue to grow and as we look for new properties to bring into the city, we are not the only ones looking at these properties. When these properties become available, they are reaching out and trying to find ways to benefit themselves as they come into these annexation agreements. We obviously saw just recently we had a lineage project that no one wanted here, no one on this governing body wanted here, and it ended up getting approved by another municipality. As we go through these corridors that are butting up against other municipalities, we have to keep that in mind as we go through these agreements. And as we look to deal with things as they come across our desk, we're going to see situations where if we don't do it, if we don't bring that into the city, it's going to still go there and it's going to go to another municipality. And not only are we going to have to deal with all the impacts that come along with it, but we're also going to have to deal with the fact that we don't see any financial benefit from it. In regards to this particular project, as we've stated earlier, its zoning is going to be maintained as it currently sits now through the county. We will not entertain putting anything on it, whether it be rezoning it for a new purpose or for any potential plats until it's gone through the proper process that we already have in place. It will go through the planning commission. It will come to us. We will have announcements put through our social media as well as our publications that we're required to by law to submit all of these things through. So this is what transparency looks like. We start off going through the legal process. Annexation is the first step always when we're trying to bring something into our city and benefit from it. So moving forward, as everybody can see, 175th is an important part of Johnson County. It's a main thoroughfare between both I-35, 169, and honestly all the way down to 69 Highway. There are lots of benefits that can be derived from these properties, both on the residential side and on the manufacturing side, as well as potentially commercial. We don't get to look at any of those issues or any of those potential benefits for the city unless it's part of the city to begin with. So moving forward, as we review these case by case, as I say all the time, I look at each individual annexation, each individual proposal brought to me by the city council or by the city employees, and I say the same thing. If it makes sense, we're going to do it. If it doesn't make sense, I'm going to ask all the questions. In a situation with this piece of property, it's clearly in a position that's going to benefit us long term. I support this annexation wholeheartedly, and each annexation that comes up gets the full dressing down by me. I read through every line item. I ask all the questions. Chad is constantly answering questions for me. Lane is constantly answering questions for me. Spencer, I don't bother as much, but everybody's answered questions for me, and all of us, we're always looking at these things with a very, very critical eye, and it's not just by the seat of our pants, but unfortunately the city only has the ability to either take things by force or by legal means or have people consent to come in, and we don't get to decide who comes into the city. We don't get to just choose that we're going to bring something in and we're going to put something there. It's got to go through the process, and this is the process. This is what transparency looks like.
Thanks, PJ.
Yep.
I don't really have much else to say other than looking at it from a growth perspective and kind of what we're doing with our sewer projects and stuff like that, how all that's gonna mesh with everything. So, and I talked to Lane about that too, so I feel comfortable with it. Thank you.
Only question I had is the strip club's not in that, right? It's the next property over?
It is not
that
okay.
little
The boundary.
Okay,
is
yeah,
not-
perfect.
Gentlemen's Club.
Gentlemen's Club.
I think PJ said it pretty well. I think we had a resident bringing this up, and the annexations, as you see, we have to create some sort of border, or we have to kind of build out our city in the way that we can when we work with these landowners. And of course, we want to be as much in control as we can over what happens at these properties, but there's going to be some times where we have to buckle a bit, when we have to make sure that we're getting what we need as far as a blockade. I would be remiss if I said that I don't want to be like Gardner was with the intermodal, where they deal with all of the issues and they get none of the benefits. And so for me, this type of annexation comes in, we're going to do our best to control the outcome of that area, how the roads look, how the traffic flows, the type of businesses they are. But it's going to be probably a meets in the middle type of deal. It's not going to be, we're not going to be able to say, hey, everything we want to do here is this, this, and this. We don't have complete control. You get further into the city where we have the openings that are county land that really can only come to us. That's when we have a lot more control, and those are the areas that we really need to dive deep and figure out what is it we want there. So we're not just giving the same thing to everybody. It's there is special circumstances depending on where these locations are, and this is a pretty prime location. And I was happy to see this come through because, as we saw, Olathe did a project that we were not interested in just north of it. I mean, a couple 100 feet away. And so if we can stop that from coming any further south and control at least a little bit what happens there, I'm happy for that. And so this is a great thing. I think if you look at both of them, you'll see that it's kind of given us the ability to kind of control a little bit that little bit of a corridor. And we'll continue talking to landowners out there and picking up larger pieces, because that's really the only way to go out there. They're large pieces of land, and people, as they look to sell, will come to us, and I'm sure they're talking to the other two cities that are there too. And so we're going to be aggressive, and we're going to be in the game. We don't want to be out of the game and have other cities decide what's going to happen near us. And so that's that's our hope for all of this. Outside of that, I will say on these, sometimes we run into legal conflict of interest, and we do go with third-party firms when that happens, and we'll have Spencer step away if there's a conflict of interest with his firm. I know it's been brought up a couple times by a resident, and so we do see, and you'll see that with some of the eminent domain we've done and things like that. So that is something that is part of this annexation. These people or these companies and landowners can sometimes be represented by a firm or the same firm that he's with, and we will use a third party in that situation. We do work with a couple different firms also for our financial services, and they can also help us in those situations. And so we have backups that are kind of in-house already too. So there is multiple options we have when it comes to legal services. The sewer cost, I know that was one thing too we talked about. We're growing into these areas. The sewer cost is kind of on us right now, but we usually get that back as people hook up. And as neighborhoods come in, you'll see large numbers come in when these residential neighborhoods come in, and they kind of help offset that cost. We typically bond it out, and then it gets paid off over time. It doesn't actually go onto the bill. It's something that we build into kind of knowing what may or may not happen in these areas. There's going to be residential, there's going to be commercial, there's going to be industrial, and they all have their different hookup costs, and we use those to help reimburse kind of the cost to get the sewer out there, which helps keep us competitive in these areas. When you see us do a sewer project, it's because these areas are up for grabs, and sewer is king. It's a weird thing. I remember when I found that out, I was like, what the heck? Why is it sewer, the thing that we worry about? Yeah, it's a hot commodity, and we have the land to get there, so it is a big piece. I agree with some of the comments we had about clear communication on the land use. That's one reason I was happy to see kind of in the annexation agreement, they're pretty forthcoming about land use that they want to do. My understanding is there is no end user, there's no end industry involved right now. They're kind of a group that seems to try to build to use or to to their user. So I know that they're here. I know there's a representative here. I don't know if there's anything they want to say, but at this point, just an annexation. We don't necessarily have anything to talk about, but if there was anything you wanted to say, you're welcome to.
Mike Stromberg, Opus Development Company. We're working with the landowner for the development of this property. Been working with Spencer and Lane for quite some time now, and just appreciate the consideration today. And like what a lot of you had to say, we want to be a good partner. I encourage everyone to do some research on Opus. We're a good developer, and we want to be stewards of the land that we develop and partner with the communities in a meaningful way. So looking forward to develop this ground in Spring Hill. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, thanks. Outside of that, I don't think we had a ton of other questions to the citizen participation that was anything that really should be addressed right now. Buffers, that'll all be addressed when that time comes, when it comes to zoning. And I know Mike is really good about, with Mike and Ian here now, we have a really good team that can go through and figure out all the items that we want to have involved. And so we'll have those discussions, and those things will come along as time progresses and projects are presented. Sometimes you'll be surprised. There was a map or a land use thing I saw today for the project that never came to fruition at 191st that I had never seen. It was something that got presented last minute, and it never even got to us. The staff got it, and they had kind of backed out at the same time. So it's very interesting sometimes that, I know core requests happen and people get information, but we don't always have all the information up front either. There's a process to everything. PJ probably said it best, better than I can. So, again, I've tried to say transparency is the biggest thing. There's always things sometimes there's things we can't say. Sometimes there's things, if we jump the gun, we say it. You see it with the storm cleanup. We jump the gun and say something, and it doesn't come across the right way, and we don't want to do that. So we got to be thoughtful of how we put information out too. But if you're not already, and I want to say this because I got a lot of calls yesterday about it, our agenda comes out the Friday before the meeting. Get on, what's it called, Glenda?
No, go onto our website.
Notify Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, notify me, and you'll get any updates for communication from the city to your email, I think to your text, all that stuff. So I would make sure you get involved in that, and then you'll really be able to get, because Glenda's been doing a really good job. That was a big thing that I wanted to do when I first started, was to get the agenda out earlier, because it was coming out Monday and sometimes Tuesday. So Friday afternoon, you have the whole weekend to review it, ask questions, call us, call the city. And so we're trying to give more time than we ever have as far as those agendas go, so you can get with us and kind of understand it better and rally up the troops if you want, or whatever it is you're going for. So just kind of wanted to address some of those things to the citizen participation that we had. Outside of that, I don't have any other comments on this. I think it's a good annexation. I'm happy to have it. I know we've looked at other properties up there that we've kind of competed, and Olathe took over, so I'm happy that this one's coming to us. And from what my research on Opus, they seem like a good company, and they've done good work. So, any other questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve agenda item number 13 as stated in tonight's agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. It's Savage, yeah. Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor? Oh, wait, is this a vote?
Roll call.
Yes, thank you.
Gosh, I messed it up again.
Mrs. Feback?
Yes.
Mr. Grant?
Yes.
Mr. Delgado?
Yes.
Mr. Savage?
Yes.
Mr. Thron?
Yes.
Mayor Young?
Yes.
Ordinance 2026-07 passes 600.
All right, and Mike's up here again. Number 14, consider approval ordinance number 2026-08 for annexing rights-of-way into the city limits, 175th Street, Lone Elm Road, and 169 Highway.
Thank you, Mayor. The second annexation, and I should say that these annexations are being done in very specific order so that we can achieve the required contiguous boundary with city limits. So the first one was done based on the contiguity with the 169 highway. But that only included the two parcels that was under the ownership. The second annexation this evening is the rights-of-way for 175th, the right-of-way to the east and Lone Elm Road. So in keeping with the county's desires for cities when they annex property to annex the adjacent right-of-way at least to the center line of the road, that's what we are doing. So the proposed annexation, there's two general kind of legal descriptions here. One that pulls in the half of the center line with the right-of-way that's to the east, adjacent to the 169 highway, the right-of-way along 175th that runs east to west, and then a portion of the Lone Elm right-of-way that runs north and south. So all of those parcels, all of those rights-of-way are adjacent to the new city limit once the annexation for the Breeds Hill annexation is recorded and is official. Once it's published, then this one will go get recorded, be published. So then these properties or rights-of-way will be contiguous to the Breeds Hill property. So this is being done in a sequential order. So staff finds that the property is it is for public right-of-way only, contiguous to the city limits. No structures or occupied properties are included. It will provide for consistent maintenance, regulation, and service of those rights-of-way so that there's no portion of a county road that's left unincorporated. No zoning changes are anticipated, and we believe it meets the city annexation policy and Kansas statutes for annexation of right-of-way. Happy to answer any questions.
This one's a little bit more straightforward. We're just kind of picking up the pieces as we have got the other one. And I know I think in the past we've missed this before, so it's nice to get it done at the same time, so we're not having to go back and try to fix it
Yes.
at a later date. So glad we got this done this time. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve agenda item number 14 as stated in tonight's agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mr. Grant?
Yes.
Mr. Delgado?
Yes.
Mr. Savage?
Yes.
Mr. Thron?
Yes.
Mrs. Feback?
Yes.
Mayor Young?
Yes.
Ordinance 2026-08 passes 600.
All right, we'll move on to item number 15. Very similar. Let's see here. Consider approval of annexation agreement and ordinance 2026-09 for land located on parcel IDs 9F231427-4003 and 9F231427-4004, American Topsoil Inc.
Thank you. This is the third annexation. It is a consideration of a voluntary annexation with the corresponding consent to annexation agreement for two properties located south and west of the Breeds Hill property. It is the American Topsoil property, approximately 75 acres in total for that property. Property will be contiguous to the current city limits after the annexations of both the Breeds Hill and the adjacent right-of-way, the first two before you. The annexation request has been submitted by the property owner, qualifying it as a voluntary annexation. The annexation agreement that is corresponding to this request has been reviewed by staff and is consistent with the city's policies and regulations. And staff finds that it meets the city's annexation policy and Kansas statutes for a voluntary annexation.
All right, any comments or questions? This one's a little bit different. I don't think we have as much information on this annexation. This is a nice pickup also because it helps us kind of move west as we like to figure out how to make sure that area stays within Spring Hill city limits. So I was happy to see this one come through also. I don't have any other comments outside of that.
Spencer, could you give us just a brief breakdown of what the current zoning is for this piece of property and kind of what it entails? It was new to me as I was reading through it.
So these properties are currently zoned RUR, which is the rural residential for the county. They're going to maintain that until the landowner comes and requests a rezoning. The current use of the land is a topsoil company, so they are extracting well, the name's pretty self-explanatory. They're extracting the topsoil that you can go to your local hardware store and buy in bags and come put around my foundation with me. So that use will continue as a permitted use, subject to a land disturbance permit. Is that right, Mike?
Yes.
So that will come to staff to ensure that that is done properly and in accordance with our procedures. And so that is outlined in the agreement as just sort of, once again, it's something that was already allowed that they can continue those uses, but we do appreciate when landowners want to be forthcoming and put that in there, and we can share that here and discuss it amongst staff. And again, the view of transparency, have that out there. So
thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any other questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve agenda item, make sure I get the number right. It's number 15, correct?
Yes.
I move to approve agenda item number 15 as stated in tonight's agenda.
Second.
2 seconds.
He can have it. He can have it. It's okay. I'll give it to him. Yes, it was Ivan.
All right, we have a motion in 2 seconds. We'll, ready for a vote.
Mr. Delgado,
Yes.
Mr. Savage,
Yes.
Mr. Thron,
Yes.
Mrs. Feback,
Yes.
Mr. Grant,
Yes.
Mayor Young.
Yes.
Ordinance 2026-09 passes 600.
All right, next item up, consider approval of resolution number 2026-R-07. Resolution providing for the range of salaries of various city officers and employees of the city of Spring Hill, Kansas pursuant to section 1-401 of the Spring Hill Municipal Code. And Ms. Monique Jones.
Yes. Good evening, Council. So I'm here to talk about the salary resolution. The change that is being proposed tonight is a very simple change in that we are not looking at an overhaul of all the positions and ranges. We're just trying to slot in a information technology or IT manager position. As you know, throughout the years, we look at the salary resolution annually to make sure it supports what we need. We do ad hoc reviews as those come about. And then every couple of years, we do the custom surveys to make sure we have that holistic view for the city compared to the market. So while all those things are going on, and then we have discussions throughout the year of what makes sense operationally for the city in terms of staff and what we need and the expertise. And so right now we are at a point where we need to bring the IT function back in-house with staff that is trained in that area to offer that specialized knowledge and experience when it comes to the day-to-day, as well as any of the projects and things that are going on from an IT perspective. And so here today we need to slot this position back in so that we can start recruiting and bring that back in-house. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I don't have any questions, but I think this is a wise decision, bringing things in-house instead of paying outrageous contracting, hourly fees and what have you. So I'm excited to see this happening. I think the city has grown enough to be able to have their own, and I don't have any questions. I just think it's a great idea.
Okay, yeah.
This is definitely a need rather than a want, so, it's gonna be beneficial for Amy, so she won't have to walk around here. We'll have an IT person here that can help us out, so.
Yeah, there's definitely a need for it. We need to have somebody in-house that can kind of be a network administrator, IT person. We've tried a couple different things. Our previous company wasn't bad. They kind of, I think, priced us out a little bit. And then new company probably served its purpose, and we probably are ready to have somebody here that's on staff that gives us 40 hours a week dedicated to us. Same person, so we know the issues that we've got instead of, you know, just the nature of being with a bigger company. You kind of go through a customer service line and it might be a different person every time. But outside of that, I'm sure we're still going to have a third-party IT company that's helping us, but this will be nice to have somebody on staff that knows the ins and outs of our specific equipment and figuring out how to make sure we keep it running smoothly, so Amy's not over there panicking when something doesn't work right.
Yeah, definitely need someone that have that centralized point of contact for everything and that knows if they say we need A, they know that's truly
Yeah.
what we need, so.
Yeah.
So I do have a question though, really quick. So do you all have a ticketing system? Or like, I know it's third party, so I'm sure there is a ticketing system there. So when we bring it internally, is there gonna be a process in place where they'll get?
Right, I mean, we'll work through all of the logistics on that and make sure we have that in place, yeah.
I just didn't know if that was considered. And then, we're still gonna have, as stuff's going in the cloud, we're still gonna have that going on.
We're gonna have someone come in and handle all the projects that we started and figure
Right.
out where we need to go with that, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, 'cause that's like a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
I know, 'cause we're doing
Yes.
it. I mean, to have like somebody come internally and then take over for what a company's doing. I'm not saying like I mean, it's just a big undertaking.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to.
Well, and
I was gonna go.
We have quite a
Mayor
bit of
Young
time
has-
left.
Mayor Young has mentioned that, I mean, we're still gonna have some outside help with certain things, because whenever we bring someone internally, there's always a need to kind of get that expertise in
Transition.
different areas,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Definitely an overlap. We're going from 100% kind of third party to
Absolutely.
probably, I would think 50-50 for a while at least. We'll get it figured out.
Right now, so I know.
Been there.
Mhm.
Everything else, kind of salary ranges just upticked, I assume, for cost of living.
Right, and so, as I mentioned in this agenda review sheet, we currently have the comprehensive survey going on. So even though we're slotting this in here right now, that's not going to prevent us from shifting it around for what makes sense once all of that is done with the survey. We just need to get it in here in a slot where it makes sense from what we could see right now and then go forward.
Okay.
The CBIZ survey that you all are doing.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have any other questions. Anybody else have questions or comments?
No.
All right, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve agenda item number 16 as stated in tonight's agenda.
Second.
Mr. Savage seconded. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are on our last item here, number 17, consider approval of resolution number 2026-R08, adopting the employee purchasing policy, first edition 2026 of the city of Spring Hill, Kansas.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks to all of you this evening for your time. We often review policy, make updates and changes as needed. This one's a pretty straightforward policy change. Some of the smaller ones are adding city officer as one of the option or one of the employee types that has purchasing power for the city. We're taking out the petty cash policy. If you don't know what that is, it means if a employee went to a meeting and they had to buy their lunch, we would give them $20 in cash. They'd bring us a receipt and some change. We have not used that since I've been here. We use purchasing cards and things like that instead, so we don't need that part of the policy. I did add a really brief section about fuel cards and that the department is responsible for documenting and verifying those purchases are correct and getting the monthly statement to accounts payable to be paid, which is what we're doing. We just put it in the policy. But the biggest one and the most important one in this group is taking a look at our on-call professional services. You hear a lot of times, a lot of work that Allison does is with on-call contracts. And so we wanted to make policy around how on-call contracts are used at different levels. There is an option for every single on-call contract work task order to be brought to council. Sometimes it would be consent for smaller items. Sometimes it's up to the city administrator if he wants it on a consent or formal. And then as it goes up in value, the policy changes. And so as an example, anything from 50 to 100,000 will always be on formal agenda for you to discuss and approve. If it's 100 to 300,000, they will do an RFP with existing on-call vendors. So we just look at the ones that we have and have them each bid on it, at least 3. Anything over 300,000 is a full RFQ and goes through that process. RFPs and RFQs have saved this city, I'll say hundreds of thousands, so I'm not exaggerating, but it's probably in excess of $1 million. They work, they're time consuming, so we want to put together a policy that lets staff utilize the on-call policies where we followed all those procedures and be efficient, but then bring in the important decisions in for council to be approving and giving people opportunity to bid on the bigger jobs, hopefully to save us money. And that's all I have about the policy changes tonight. Can I answer any questions for you? I know you guys love policy.
No, I think this is appropriate. It's definitely going to help ease the workload and the timelines for a lot of these projects that we have going on. Sometimes having to wait 13 days because we just had a council meeting to get something moving is very, very time prohibitive. So I think these ranges are appropriate for a city of our size. I think our staff is trustworthy and all the checks and balances are still there to make sure that we're doing everything above board. So I support this in its entirety.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like the numbers that we have on the higher end for in-house contractors. I think 300,000. If it's under that, typically, I don't think we need to spend the extra 30 days it takes for the big RFQ. We have a huge list that we've already kind of gone through and qualified. Sticking within that, getting these projects done quickly. There's a lot of times talk to people and they're like, why is it taking so long to do anything? We're like, well, it's kind of in this gray area. We've got to go through the rigmarole of everything else. So that will help. The only thing I wanted to bring up to everybody, we did change these numbers for the actual department heads, finance director, city administrator. Is everybody okay with the 0 to 50 there, or do we want to, they were lower before? Are we okay with that there, or everybody's good with that? Okay. Just wanted to check that. I know that was something that we had, when we did it, it was kind of like we're going to try it out and see if these numbers are good. I do like, for the most part, you've been bringing even smaller amounts to us. I would like to continue that.
You mean on the actual purchasing policy?
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. It works pretty well for us to be efficient and quick, but Mr. Massey tends to push things in here to you when it's getting closer to that 50,000 range and things like that.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah.
I don't think everything needs to go. I mean, obviously, there's times where we're like, hey, we got to do it. But yeah, I think it's good. The practice we've been doing, although it's not the policy, I like the practice we've been using. I think this will be a big good change for us. I'm sad Allison's not here she was very happy with this because I think it's going to make her life a lot easier when we're trying to get these projects done quickly or make decisions more quickly. So I think it looks good.
The only question I had was when it says city officers, is that just the city clerk position, or is there other positions that are going to fall into that as well?
Right now, the only one with purchasing policy or purchasing needs is the city clerk. I was more generic. For example, I'm the city treasurer. I get authority from this policy anyway. We have a city attorney. He is not an employee, does not have any power, any purchasing power. You don't have any power at all. Zero. But if we were to hire an attorney, God forbid, if we were to hire an internal attorney, we wouldn't have to change this policy for that person to have purchasing power.
Okay.
I do have a question. It might be a little bit on the outside here. How do we pay? Do you just give a check to people, or is there like we use bill pay, where then the vendor, the bill is it goes through the approval process through the appropriate people? Is that what you all have here? Or do we just do the kind of spreadsheet and write the check out and all that stuff? I don't know.
Sometimes I kind of want to laugh and bring in the stack of paper that it takes for you to get an appropriation order for this agenda.
I just wondered.
But the physical invoice from the vendor is an original, is sent through. So for example, if Public Works, hires someone to fix something, fix a stop sign, they will get an invoice. They've authorized the work. They confirm that it's correct. They code it and they put it in our system and it's paid. We don't pay from statements or spreadsheets or anything like that. We use a lot of city credit cards, probably $20,000 a month or so for smaller purchases.
Okay.
That way we're not doing that whole process. They process one statement as opposed to, my last card had 22
Yeah.
purchases on it. We just paid one bill.
I just wondered if you used automation, because a lot of places are switching to those kinds of systems, and it
Right.
just makes it nice for your accountants.
I hope we're headed that way.
Yeah.
We've looked into it a couple of times and just haven't made that move yet. And I would like to see us be more I don't like shuffling paper.
Sure.
I'd rather, for example, sometimes the mayor has to sign things that you guys authorized we bought. I'd rather it routed to him electronically. He clicked a button and we knew it was approved, as opposed to actually getting his signature.
There
on
are
an
systems out there that'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went through a big thing. It's great.
The Tyler software will do that.
Okay.
We just have not implemented that portion. You can also move all the way to Visa purchasing where we pay everybody with Visa cards. You know, and vendors do not like that. So we want
Purchase
to
cards
balance
are-
what's good for
There was a
business.
big push on those and they've gotten pushed back. 'Cause
Yeah,
There's
it's
a big cost.
Cost to the.
We sold a lot of them, yeah.
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 And then everybody's like, we can't use it anymore. Nobody's taking
Okay,
them.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get out there with that.
No.
I know that wasn't the original thing. I was just curious. Sorry.
Yeps, I always look for ways to make it better.
No, and I agree. I mean, we've talked about this over the years, just
Yeah.
in banking itself, when it comes to payments. We do have processes where it's electronic, where it goes from one approver to the next, and
Yeah.
I get some that I have to approve on Tyler, so there's different ways to do it. I think we're making our way there.
Sure.
I think once we have somebody in-house too, it'll be nice to,
Mm-hmm.
they might have ideas where they worked or been, so it's always good to get a different perspective. Any other comments or questions? All right, I will consider a motion. Entertain a motion.
Yes, I move to approve agenda item 17 as stated in tonight's agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rhonda. Yeah.
Okay.
Does anyone need a break before our discussion item?
I would not be mad.
Why don't we take a 5-minute break before this discussion item? Huh? We have discussion, then we have some executive session, so figure we take a break now, so we're not rushing this discussion at all. So I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I move that the governing body move into recess for a bathroom break for 5 minutes to return in the council chambers at 8:44 PM.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0-0. 4, and we are back. And we will move on to our discussion item of storm policies. This kind of came up with the previous storm that we had. We didn't necessarily have a plan for anything kind of under the threshold of, I would say, natural disaster for the whole city. I'll try to address a few things. So I did talk to the governor's office, Ethan up there, and through Chip Van Houten, our state representative. He was a big help trying to find out what funding we can get. The storm was a little bit of an anomaly. We had quite a bit of damage in the area where the damage was, but it wasn't necessarily the entire city, and it was on the Miami County side. So therefore, we had a very, very small portion of Johnson County that was affected, and that kind of affects what happens as far as resources we get from all over. I didn't know that when you go to look for resources outside of just our city resources, there's a very complex equation that goes into it. What qualifies, what doesn't qualify, you know, what we can kind of take credit for, what we can't. I think with the damage that was done in Hillsdale, all of our surrounding, whether it be fire, other police, Johnson County, everybody was dispatched to Hillsdale. We even dispatched some officers, from my understanding, because once we looked at it, we're like, hey, the damage is not as widespread here, so we're going to send a couple officers down. I know James and I were out in the storm. We were kind of driving around together, side by side, trying to pull limbs out of the street just to get our guys over to where they needed to be. And, you know, the comment of widespread, it's a geographical comment. It wasn't anything that it wasn't widespread in the areas it was hit. The areas it was hit was not great. I'm the most furthest part of, actually, all of us but Ivan are in Miami County, and we were all hit, I think. James's house was probably the worst, maybe PJ next. I was lucky we don't have mature trees. You know, my fence is broken, my roof is messed up, and my hot tub lid got thrown to the neighbor's house. So I had damage, but it wasn't tree damage. So, you know, when that first initial comment comes out, you know, it came across the wrong way. I took full responsibility for it, and in the future, we're going to be a little bit more mindful of what we say, how we say it, and how we approach things. So I wanted to come here, get everybody's opinion on how we want to set funds aside. Obviously, we have funds available. We have reserves. We have everything. But I don't mind having a line item, and Rhonda's been really good about this over the years, of having a line item for every single thing. We have one for benefits for our employees. We have one for, what are some other weird ones that we've got that, you know, to me, I'm like, why do we do this? And then we have something like this happen. I'm like, oh, it would be nice if we had a line item that we keep $50,000 to $100,000 in. What other kind of line items do we have that we can kind of attribute this to as far as doing in the future?
Every year in the budget, two important things. Number one, I budget a line called contingency, and that's the unknown. And I don't recall it ever having under $50,000 in a year, because things will happen we cannot possibly predict. Plus, you budget to spend every penny you have. I hope we never have a situation that we need to do that, but money will never be the issue for you to accomplish whatever emergency that comes along. I'd also like to point out, in this situation, purchasing policy was still followed, where multiple vendors were called, and we followed the best procedure, so it didn't even have to be an emergency. They were able to follow process and hire the best vendor for us. So I'm not sure exactly which line item, because I don't know exactly how much we've spent yet, but that budget and money is not an issue. We could add an extra line if you want. I don't really know what would go in it, because we clean up snowstorms. We have budget for salt and sand, and
So where does that come from? Like, what do we have that in now?
that's in streets and parks. And it's also can be paid. We buy salt from the Consolidated Highway Fund as well.
Most of it, though, in your staffing. I mean, if you think about, aside from the equipment and stuff, you've got to have staff to, so you're looking at overtime and all that stuff. So that's not going to come from your contingency thing. That's going to
But we do budget for
overtime.
Right.
I knew you did.
And an example in parks and streets, a lot of that overtime is snow time in a year. And we are budgeting this year as a percentage of wages, so that we're always carrying a, I guess you would say, contingency, depending on what happens, and they should run under budget if you don't have a lot of snowstorms or you don't have a storm cleanup and things like that. We give them an appropriate budget for that.
Is there some type of protocol that we do in terms of like all hands on deck? We've got a situation here. I mean, do we have?
Well, Chief had kind of a, and I would say Jacob, I think they both had a plan in place that they followed. I don't think, employee-wise, we were in a terrible spot. It was a matter of, do we want to say, hey, in the future, we want to treat storms like this like we do snow, where it's, we're going to make sure it's taken care of for the entire city. And that's kind of the question I think I want to have answered. And if that's the case, then we need to, in my opinion, budget for it annually and have money set aside for that. I know one of the main issues we had was the initial bid we got, since we don't have like a contractor on file that says, hey, this is who we're going to use when we have storm issues. And that's one thing Jacob brought up. He's like, hey, I think we can probably have that ready to go and pre-planned so that the pricing we got a day after our first pricing we got was substantially lower because it wasn't the height of the storm. We went out in the height of the storm and looked out, and we were looking at 6 figures for cleanup. And then when we go back a couple days, a day later or so, and it's substantially lower, we had a clearer picture of where we can maybe put the debris. There's like all these things that kind of came into play that we didn't have initially. And I think that part of the plan is even bigger than even the budgeting. Because like I said, money's there. It's a matter of the sticker shock of hearing, oh, this is what it's going to cost. Do we, as a governing body, want to say, hey, we're going to take care of this in future storms and make sure we have a set aside amount? That's in my opinion. I think we should have some set aside money. And then should we have a contractor
I think we should
on
have a
call
contractor.
for that?
Because who we used did a great job.
Yeah, and I liked it was a local contractor, and so that's where those type of things come into play. I know I was trying to call everybody, and it was like all of us were having our own issues at home. I had water coming in the back window. I'm checking to see what's going on in my house, and so it's kind of a mix. And I think, Lane was out too, driving around trying to figure out what was going on. Jacob and Chief were both working. I called Chief and I hear like screaming in the background. I'm like, I'm gonna get off the phone. You just do what you need to do. And so, it's kind of hectic. It's hectic for the homeowner. It's hectic for us. That's why I think having a plan going forward is good. So that's where I just want to hear from you guys what you think and what you would like to see going forward.
Go ahead, buddy.
I'd like to see us do an emergency meeting. That way, there's no runaround of, hey, I can't talk to more than 2 council members about this issue. We can just all come in, we can all call in, whatever the case may be,
Right.
and just freely discuss and, come up with a good plan together,
Yeah. I don't know if we necessarily need a meeting. I think if we have a consensus now and we can set up a plan to say, hey, we want to afford these.
procedure.
Yeah, have a procedure for it. I think that's probably better suited than doing a meeting and trying to pick and choose which ones we want to do it for. But that would be my opinion. I think we just decide now, hey, these type of events we want to take care of that are kind of under the threshold of where we're going to actually get, reimbursed for this, and we'll do our best. I know there's a lot of pieces that go into it, and Jacob, you can probably speak to this more, or Lane, to get reimbursed, we have to have the contractors pre-planned and kind of in contract. We have to kind of work with the rec beforehand and make them a contractor so that we can use.
There's several steps. In a large scale, what I'll call a natural disaster, a tornadic event, ice storm, flood, the governing body, the mayor specifically, would declare a disaster. Then that would typically goes to the county and then on to the governor's office to declare that as a state disaster. If it reaches a certain level, it can become a presidentially declared disaster. Then that opens up potential FEMA funds. This event just within Spring Hill probably won't reach that. It's possible with Hillsdale and Osawatomie and Paola that it could, but we won't know that until much later when all the damages have been brought together. Typically in a FEMA presidentially declared disaster, we have to track the hours of overtime, the trucks, the vehicles, all of that has a dollar amount associated per hour of use. And then as they collect the debris, then they take pictures of the debris, estimate the weight. There's a whole process of doing this in a large-scale disaster. Back to a question that you had, we do have a plan in place internally for the staff. We activated, I contacted the chief and Jacob, and they were, chief came into the station, and Jacob had his crews ready to go. So they, once that event occurred, then they were able to react very quickly. On a larger scale, it kind of goes back to your question of having a meeting. On the emergency operations plan that we have, there are specific processes that we have in place for instant command. We would at that time start having meetings, and we would have not only meetings with the governing body, we would have meetings with the individual companies like Evergy, Atmos Gas, and any other players within that we would need to. And then at that point, we would also have the PIO making press releases. And so there's a process depending on the intensity of the event. And if it's a very major event, we're probably going to bring in Johnson County EOC to help with that, and some surrounding areas depending on the severity to our neighbors to the north and east.
So again, I think the biggest issue with this particular storm is that it falls kind of under that threshold of all of those things. So for us, there's a plan in place to make sure we have staff involved, that they can handle the public rights of way and things like that in the streets. But do we want to continue doing the type of cleanup that we did for this storm, which I'm completely fine with? And if we do, I just think we need to have a plan in place for that. And I don't think it's as complicated as it probably seems based off of how complicated it got this time. If we just have, if it's Tid Tree, I think, handled this storm for us. If it's, hey, we go through the process, we get bids for the next year or two, Tid Tree's kind of on call for any storm debris pickup that we have. We'll pick up, we'll have it 5 days after the major storm. We kind of have those type of steps in place. I think that's what we probably need to look at. And then if that's the case, I think we set aside, depending on what the pricing is from that we get for the on-call work. I think a cleanup never really takes more than 4 or 5 days, I would think. So we'd say whatever that cost is, and then the cost of the overtime and things like that. And then also, I think working with the rec to have a plan in place to something like this, where they did a great job of jumping in and handling those logistics of the volunteer portion and the request portion, which I think is very helpful, because again, a lot of the damage is in backyards, and if you don't have help to get it out to the curb, us picking it up doesn't really help you if you can't get it out there. So I think those things are what we really need to kind of hash out right now, just in a consensus. And so if everybody's like, yeah, I like what we did after, once we made a plan, let's have Jacob and Lane kind of figure that out. If not, if there's other things we'd like to see, then let's do that.
So as far as our initial response, obviously there was a lot of it wasn't received well. We've acknowledged that. We don't need to keep beating that dead horse, but I want to kind of acknowledge the expectation that I think is fair for the city employees as a whole, for the governing body as a whole. We were receiving requests and complaints about our initial response within hours of the storm actually happening. And I want to make sure that whatever policy or whatever procedure we set and acknowledges that the city crews have to have time to assess damages. Our police officers have to have time to assess whether or not the roads are safe to be out on. Expecting a city government, especially a city government of our size, to be able to respond and be out on private property, helping people correct private issues within 24 hours, I feel is an unrealistic expectation at every corner. So Jacob, how many people do you have under your employ right now? When you had crews out, how many men were you able to mobilize?
Mobilizing for storm pickup, 7.
7. Chief, how many officers do we have under our employ right now?
19. I was going to say 18 or 19.
Yeah. 19.
Okay, sorry about that. 19.
19. So we've got 7 public works people. We've got 19 officers to make the entire city safe to travel, so we can even begin cleanup. Having whatever we put in policy, the expectation has to be realistic for the size and the resources we have available. So as we move forward with that, I think identifying some potential vendors like we do for everything else, I think is an appropriate step. And I think that'll also set us up in the future for pursuing disaster relief funding as it comes from the county, it comes from the state, it comes from the federal government. But I also want to remind everybody that I'm not a disaster relief expert. Most people don't have any kind of training. When it comes to that significant tornadic event, that true natural disaster, Lane, Chief, Jacob, our city employees are our response to that. We've got all these policies already in place. And honestly, outside of the court of public opinion saying, I didn't like what was said initially, we did exactly what the city should do. Like, I'm perfectly okay with setting up a policy so we have things in place. I'm perfectly okay with setting up a line item so we know, hey, this is where that money's coming from. But I want to make sure whatever we're doing, we're acknowledging that this event wasn't a natural disaster. It was a storm. We did have to do cleanup. But we also don't need to go to an extent that's well outside the scope of what we've already got set up.
I was just gonna say what I'd like to see, because you're correct, we're not experts up here. We all come from different lines of work and different things like that. I'd like to see Chief and Lane and Jacob, I mean, with whoever else's input, put a proposal together with some of these things that we're saying and then present it to us. Because you as a city official, Lane, this is not your first rodeo. And so I would like to see what you would have to say and what other cities have done and propose it to us. I just think that would allow you to exercise your role in the city. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't think discounting the storm at all, we didn't discount the storm at all. It was a matter of trying to figure out what we're gonna do going forward. And I think I'm okay with the response that we ended up having. And so if everybody else is too, I'd like to put some sort of, like you said, I like that, put a proposal together, tell us, hey, if this happened next year in April, these are the vendors we could have on call. This is how we would handle it with the rec. And just be something like we do with snow removal and include a certain amount of pickup.
Having a line item on the website with every other thing that we have added to it. Here's what happens in the case of storm damage.
And like you said, I mean, every year we can budget it, and if the first year is 50,000, so, cause that's what whatever the number is, I don't know what it is, but if, say it's 50,000, first year we put 50,000 in, well, we don't use it next year. Okay, well, the next year we don't need to budget any money into that fund, and it sits, we sit with whatever amount we have. Is that a possibility, or how does that work?
Each year's budget is independent, and so if, for example, I made a note to add an emergency response line.
Okay.
And in that, if you put in, say, 50,000, then next year you decide what number goes in there. Is it still 50? Does it need to be more? Does it need to be less?
Yeah.
Kind of like we do with our health fund.
Yeah, like we do with everything else, yeah.
Okay.
And so whether it's used or not, we just make a decision on that particular fund and move forward. So, is everybody like the end result service that we offered? Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah. Is there like a cheaper option we can do as far as, I know we have land that we could possibly take the wood to, dump it and burn it maybe?
Well, and that's what we did this time. So it all
Is that
got
what
taken
we
out to the
did?
wastewater plant.
Okay.
And
I thought it got taken out to
Public Works did a really good, well, that's what drastically decreased the cost.
Okay.
Was Jacob was like, hey, I think we can do this out here. He's come up with a lot of these ideas of, I think we can get an on-call group. So he's done a really good job of saying, hey, we didn't necessarily have a plan. We kind of reacted a little bit coarsely. And this is what we could do in the future based off of how it ended up. And we got pretty favorable pricing a day or two later after the storm. Even with Friday, I mean, I think we're probably gonna build in, I would think, like you said, an expectation of, well, that one was kind of crappy. We were like, what's gonna happen Friday?
Right.
I don't wanna clean up and then, but you also don't wanna have crazy amounts of limbs out that can get blown around by the next storm.
Right.
So it's like a happy medium there. How do we look at that? And so there's gonna be options, whether we do, that'll be more of a Jacob, probably decision-making.
Yeah.
But I thought he did a good job of mobilizing our current staff. Obviously, when the weather's bad, they probably can't do a whole lot of what they wanna do or need to do. And so we can mobilize them there, but if there's still work I like having that third party there, that's what they do.
Right.
So our guys can keep doing,
Mhm.
yeah, because sometimes we'll have these storms and the next day it's perfect out.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So they can get back to the road work or whatever it is they're working on. So I don't love the fact that we would take city staff away from, or public works away from what they're doing day to day for a week, cause it's gonna take them a lot longer with these big trucks. I know the first day was a little slow, but the second day, man, they really made some progress.
Yep.
And I got a lot of compliments on how clean they left it. We were kinda like, do we have like public works behind them to rake it up? Cause it's, you know, what are people expecting?
They just do.
One guy was like, they picked it up and it was clean as like nothing was there. I was like, oh, well, their equipment's obviously made for this. So, you know, now we kind of know people know what to expect. It's not gonna be perfect, but if we get the majority of it, they can throw the rest in their dumpster or whatnot. And so I think if we can put a plan together, Jacob, along those lines, Rhonda, if you can get us through this budget process, it was kind of perfect timing since we're getting ready to start budget. And, as far as perfect timing can be for anything like this. But, yeah, no, if everybody's good with that, I think staff, sounds like we've got a consensus to say, hey, let's move forward with this stuff, and hopefully in the future, we don't have, all our communication will just be, this day is when pickup will start, and we don't have to go with the rigmarole. All right?
I think on top of that too, we need to get on Facebook and make a post as soon as the storm happens. Like, hey, city is working on it. Just people know and they're not left in the dark and
Yeah.
not know what's going on.
Well, and I think if we have a plan, we have a basic, here's how we're gonna handle this storm, or this is how our storm management plan.
It's like a procedure.
Yeah, and we can put that out and say, storm's gonna happen, we're gonna reassess as of tomorrow or Wednesday, cause some of these storms that like tonight, we'll see what happens, right? You know, we don't know.
Definitely water.
You know, so. Yeah, that's the other thing is, one thing, I don't think anybody brought this up, but the rec had a dumpster over at the baseball field for non-tree debris.
Yeah.
Which was very well used. That thing was like twice as high and they brought another one in, so I do appreciate that, cause for us, if we're gonna burn it, really all tree debris is the only thing we can do. Uh-oh. Oh, that's chief. All right. Any other comments or anything on this subject? I don't think there was any other comments about that. We will move into our executive session portion. We have 3 of those tonight. I know somebody did make a comment tonight about having too many executive sessions. There's just some things we can't talk about out here that we have to, there's a lot of moving parts that are happening. We have, you know, we have to go into executive session for some things. So I know it's not great. We try not to have, we could probably have 6 tonight if we really wanted to. We try to limit them as much as possible and get them out in the public as we can, but. we're gonna
State
have
law
3 tonight.
dictates.
Yeah.
Lori Pinnigan.
Yes, sir. So I will entertain the first executive session.
All right. Time here. I move that the city council recess into executive session for 20 minutes to receive advice of council regarding economic development pursuant to KSA 754319B2 of the Kansas Open Meetings Open Meetings Act. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers at 9:28. No formal action is anticipated following the session. The person that attends are the following: Lane Massey, City Administrator; Mike Mallon, Community Development Director; Rick McConnell, Bond Counsel; Emma Kate Dillon, Bond Counsel; Colby Kranansky, Municipal Advisor; and Rhonda Dunn, Financial Director.
Second. Better you than me, PJ. I messed his name up multiple times. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. See you in 20 minutes. put more time on the front. It wasn't Ivan this time. All right, let the record reflect. We returned to the city council chambers at 9:28 PM. We did have Kristen had to leave. I just wanted to let everybody know she's no longer in the meeting. We are trying to extend 10 minutes
Yes.
on this current executive session.
All right, so I move that the governing body extend the executive session for another 10 minutes to return at the council chambers at 9:39.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 4-0. We have returned at 9:39 PM. No decisions were made, no discussions outside of the topics related. We are now moving into executive session number 2 for 10 minutes. Want to go ahead and read that off?
I move that the city council recess to executive session for 10 minutes to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel pursuant to KSA 75-4319B1 of the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers at 9:51 PM. No formal action is anticipated following the session. The persons to be in attendance are the following: Lane Massey, City Administrator.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 4-0.
she is mad. Her car is not in the garage, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let the record reflect, we returned at 9:51 PM. No decisions were made, and no subjects outside the one we had were discussed. We'll now move on to executive session number 3 and final session. For how many?
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Do 10?
Let's do 15 to be safe. I don't trust when you go down.
15 it is.
I don't want to come back and extend. Amy will kill us.
06. 07 now.
I move that the city council recess into executive session for 15 minutes to receive advice of counsel regarding actual or threatened litigation pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2 of the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers at 10:09 PM. No formal action is anticipated following the session. The persons to be in attendance will be the following: Lane Massey, City Administrator; Mike Mallon, City Community Development Director; and Spencer Lyle, City Attorney.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed 4-0. We reconvened at 10:09 PM. No decisions were made, no subjects outside of the subjects created. I now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved.
Nope. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0-0. Have a good night.